close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Daniel Bailey TV. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. I'm going to talk about Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. It finished 1-0 to the Arsenal at Selhurst Park last night. And yeah, I'm going to get into talking about the game and my thoughts and giving my opinions on it. And yeah, there's a lot of things that happened in that game. First and foremost, I just want to remind you all to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and yeah, all that good stuff. Listen, let's get into it. Like I said, it finished 1-0 at Selhurst Park to the Arsenal, and I guess the best place to start is it wasn't really the free-flowing football that we're used to seeing from Arsenal. You know, when you remember last season, the opening day of the season, we started off at Crystal Palace and we won 2-0. And it was a little bit more free-flowing than what it was last night. It wasn't the usual free-flowing that we saw last season, last night. I think we were a lot more reserved. Obviously, the system was a lot different. When you look at the starting lineups, there was no Gabriel, there was no Zinchenko. Obviously, he was on the bench. He did come on in the end. Obviously, we had Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Martin Odegaard in that midfield area. Thomas Partey was doing that inverted right back. He's filling in at right back. And then Tomiyasu was filling in at left back. Obviously, Jurrien Timber, we know that he's out with an ACL injury, so you know there was no Jurrien Timber. I guess for me, when I look at this performance, it wasn't the usual free-flowing performance that we're used to seeing from Arsenal. But what I will say is I'm okay with that. I really am okay with the non-free-flowing performance. And the reason why I'm okay with it is because we saw last season, certainly at the start of the season, we were going into games and we were just blowing teams away, and everybody was getting all excited about the brand of football we were playing. And listen, it was great. It was fantastic. But when we got to the business end of the season, we had burnt out. You know, when it mattered, we had burnt out. And I just wonder this season if the players and Arteta had looked upon it and gone, you know what, as long as we keep winning and as long as we get the points on the board, we don't need to go gung-ho. The time to go gung-ho is not at the start of the season, but at the end of the season. As long as we stay in and around the title contention, and as long as we stay in and around those cup competitions, we don't need to go gun-ho. You know, the title race is a marathon, not a sprint. And last season is a case in point where we started the season brilliantly. We started fantastically against teams. We were blowing teams away. And then we burnt out towards the end. Now, who's going to remember us blowing teams away at the start of the season? No one's really talking about that, but people are talking about how we collapsed towards the end of the season. So going into this season, I'm okay if we go into the season a little bit reserved. You know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And as long as we peak at the right time And I'd rather peak in the second half of the season than peak now and then burn out in the second half of the season. You have to understand that, we got Champions League coming in, then we got all the cup competitions. So, look, there's time for those free-flowing performances. I don't think now is the right time. You see it with Man City, and I know people are going to say, well, you can't really compare us to Man City. They've got a bigger and better squad than us. But you see it with Man City. They don't go gun-ho right at the start of the season. They'll often drop a few points from games here and there. They'll often draw a few games. But when it really matters, come January, maybe February at a push, that's when they start to really hit their peak. And I'm wondering if Arteta's looked at Man City, looked at the way we fell apart last season and gone, do you know what? It doesn't matter if you're not at your best right at the start of the season. But when it does matter at the business end of the season, when you're at your best, that's when you really need to peak. Because you know what? As long as you're in and around it, titles aren't won and lost in the first half of the season. Titles are won and lost with 10 to 8 games to go. And I'd rather us hit our peak then than hit our peak now. So I'm okay with those kind of performances. But just looking at the performance itself, apart from the fact that we were a little bit reserved, I thought a few individuals had brilliant games. Declan Rice, I think we saw glimpses last night of the kind of player we knew we were signing in Declan Rice. And we saw the reason why the club were prepared to pay 100 million plus 5 million in add-ons for Declan Rice. And I think that Declan Rice is going to go up a few gears. I think we're going to see Declan Rice go from gear to gear over the course of this season. He was absolutely outstanding. He's such a physical presence. I'll tell you what I'm more impressed with when I look at Declan Rice and I look at his performance yesterday. It wasn't the fact that he was brilliant on the ball, because there were times where he was fantastic on the ball, playing the ball in to Saka, always finding Saka. I think Declan Rice knows that the outlet is through Saka, and same with him and Nketiah. They've got a good understanding. But the thing that I enjoyed most of all about Declan Rice's performance last night is his leadership, his ability. You could see it in the game where he was telling players, listen, you need to go here, you need to go here. And he was moving players around. And I think he's really embracing that leadership role. And I don't think it will be long before he takes the captaincy off of Martin Odegaard. Listen, don't get me wrong. Martin Odegaard is a fantastic player. I love Martin Odegaard, but he's not the all singing and dancing captain that Declan Rice would be if he was the captain. And I don't think it will be long before Declan Rice takes the captaincy off Martin Odegaard. Obviously, in the second half, we went down to 10 men. Tomiyasu getting sent off for a second yellow. And I'll tell you what, I will say this before I have my little rant about referees, because I am going to go in on referees, because the standard of refereeing in the Premier League is an absolute mess. It's an absolute shambles. But what I will say is, if Tomiyasu hadn't have been time wasting for the first goal, for the throw-in, for the first yellow card, he wouldn't have been sent off. Look, I don't even think, personally, I don't think he was time wasting for the first yellow card. He had the ball for about 8 seconds. And the officials are claiming that he had the ball for about 23 seconds. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, the standard of refereeing in the Premier League is abysmal. We've got the best league in the world. We've got the best teams in the world, in the best league in the world. But the standard of refereeing, the standard of officials is terrible, absolutely terrible. And it's not even the rule changes that that are laughable. It's the inconsistency of upholding those rules when it comes to officiating games that I have a problem with. And we've seen it in the first 2 weeks of the Premier League. There's been decisions that shouldn't have been decisions, and then there have been decisions that should have been decisions given that haven't been given, and it's just a complete mess. And I don't think this is ever going to get sorted until the powers that be decide to sack the entire group of officials that we have and get new ones in, because it's not going to change. Like, it really isn't. It's an absolute mess, absolute shower of shit, shall we say. But I don't have a problem with VAR. I don't have a problem with what they're trying to do, because I think actually with VAR, I think we do need VAR. I think there's a place for VAR, but I have a problem with these officials. You can put them in Stockley Park, you can put them on the pitch, you can put them on the touchline. They're still crap officials. No amount of moving them, no amount of changing the rules, no amount of amending things and changing things is going to change the fact that they are crap. But look, it is what it is. Tomiyasu has been suspended for the next game. Whether Arsenal appeal or whether that gets overturned remains to be seen. But after that, it was pretty much a backs to the wall job defensively. And yeah, listen, that was it for the game. That was my take on last night's events at Selhurst Park. What I will say as well, just quickly before I wrap this video up, is that I don't think it works having Thomas Partey in that inverted role. Whether Arteta's just trying to try new things out, listen, that's understandable, but I just don't think it works. I also don't think there's anything to worry about with Gabriel being left out of the side. I know there was reports yesterday linking him to Saudi again. There's reports suggesting that he had a meeting with Saudi representatives about moving. Look, I think Arsenal will be crazy to let Gabriel go. They will be absolutely mad. The partnership that him and Saliba have at this stage of the transfer window, there's no replacing that. So if I was Arsenal, I'd be doing everything in my power to be keeping hold of Gabriel. And Mikel Arteta in his press conference pretty much rubbished reports of Gabriel going. We know that if a player's going, Mikel Arteta is pretty much open with the media, open with people, and he will suggest that, look, we'll just see what happens. But yeah, he rubbished reports yesterday pretty much. But listen, we move on. We move on to Fulham's 2 wins out of 2. We got 6 points. We got Fulham on Saturday. Then we got Man United at home, and completely winnable game. So yeah, although the performances aren't quite what we expect, and although the performances aren't quite what we want at the moment, we've got to be very pleased that we're, with 2 wins out of 2, we've still got 100% record along with Man City, Brighton in the Premier League. I think we've got to be happy with that, guys. I think we really do. And yeah, listen, we move on to Fulham. Listen, guys, that's the end of today's video. Do smash the like button. Do smash the subscribe button. I will be back later in the week with a preview for that Fulham game at the Emirates. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll be dropping another couple of news videos tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled for those. I'll be keeping across all things Arsenal when it comes to news. I'm going to try and get a few guests on as well. It's been a while since I've had a few guests on and done a few shows with a few guests. So I'm going to try and do that for you guys as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, listen, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will catch you all very soon. See you on the next one. Bye-bye for now. Come on, you Gunners.